Hey guys, it's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask An Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Pass it on to somebody else who may need to see this, and leave us a positive comment in the comment section. And don't forget to stay to the end of the video because I'm going to shout out two of my favorite comments right after I'm done talking about today's topic. So today's topic, someone asked me, is very interesting. This young lady, she's young and she's just figuring out her sexuality. And she is having a really hard time with her family. She came out the closet and her family is acting funny. She feels like certain people not really rolling with her no more. Her aunt acting shady and talking smack to her. She was saying that her mother is kind of weird, still talking to her, but weird. And she asked me, how did I get my family to accept my sexuality? So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story, but you have to understand something. I don't believe in getting somebody else to accept my life. I don't try to persuade others to accept who I am or to appreciate who I am or whatever the case is. I didn't give my family a choice. I didn't say to them, okay, I'm gay. Are you guys going to accept me? I was like, I'm a lesbian and fuck you if you don't accept me. And that's seriously my attitude about it. But that always was my attitude. As an Aquarius, my attitude always was, I'm going to do me. Because one of the things I realized as a teenager, I realized when I was young, that people are going to do them. I would sit back and watch my aunts and my uncles and my mother's friends. My mother knew a lot of people, knows a lot of people. And she's very social in that way. So our house was always full of people. Every holiday was full of people and her friends. And my mom was a cop. So it was cops stopping by. It was her friends, her family. So all these people coming by, especially my mother's side of the family. Now, my mother's side of the family is always talking shit. They're very judgmental and they're always talking smack. But when they do something, it's all good. It's like, what? I have an aunt. I'll give you a perfect example. I have an aunt. For some reason, my aunt keeps on getting into relationships with men who are alcoholics. Now, I think this is psychological because my grandfather, her father, was an alcoholic. So I'm thinking maybe on a psychological level, she's picking men that were just like her father in every way, not just the positive, but every way. So that's what I'm thinking, but I'm not a therapist, so I can't figure that part out. Anyway, she keeps on picking men who are alcoholics, having awful relationships with them, and and basically just dealing with the negativity, dealing with whatever comes with it throughout the relationship. In the first one, there was infidelity, there was all kinds of fighting, there was a nasty, verbal abuse, there's all kinds of stuff. Second time, same thing, alcohol, missing, all kind of bad things happening. But she will talk about your life. She'll tell you how you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. She talk about me, okay? To this day, she talks about me and I'm a devil worshiper and all this other old crap. But at the same time, her life has never been right. She ain't never been right. She old now, so I don't think she ever gonna be right. But she'll talk about me, she'll talk about you, she'll talk about everybody else. So I saw this as a young girl and I'm sitting back like, this is some bullshit. And I realized as a teenager, or by the time I was a teenager, that the same people who would condemn me live in glass houses. They'll throw rocks at me, but they live in a glass house as well. So I realized that number one, I didn't have to listen to hypocrites. That's the first thing I realized as a young girl. And number two, I realized that they weren't living their lives to please me. So I didn't have to live my life to please them. And the older I've got, the more this has set in, because the more I've gone through spiritual training and things like that, the more I realize that who I am as an Aquarius, a lot of times we're meant to be the leader or the lone wolf. We're not usually meant to run with the pack. We either lead the pack or we kind of trail away from the pack. That's what we do as Aquarius. So I've realized that. I realized that as I got older, and I'm just like, ever since I was a teenager to this day, I just feel like I have to live my life for myself. I'm responsible for it. Every spiritual text I've ever read when I was going through priestess training, before and after, they all said, I am accountable for what happens in my life. I am responsible when I pass over. So they're not going to say, oh, did you do what your mom told you to do? I can't use somebody else as my scapegoat when I go to the all. I can't tell God, oh, I didn't do that because my mom said not to. I didn't live up to my potential because, everybody thought it was a crazy idea. They're not trying to hear that. Goddess is not trying to hear that. So the more I get into spirituality, the more I understand that my life is mine. I'm accountable for it. So as a young girl, I didn't know all of the spiritual stuff that went around it, but I knew that I didn't have to let hypocrites tell me how to live. And this is true of all of us. All of our families and the people around us do their own dirt. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. And if you ever notice, look at your family. You ever notice that the people that talk the most smack are the ones who've done the worst stuff? Some of the ones who've done the most dirt are the ones who got the most to say. So how did I get them to accept me? I didn't. I told them who I was, and if you want to roll, you roll. You don't want to roll, you roll out. Sometimes, I'm not even going to say sometimes, you can't be afraid to lose people. If people love you and accept you for what you are, that's wonderful. But if they expect you to change or be what they want you to be in order to get their love, then that love isn't unconditional. And my family hasn't really gone anywhere. They still around. I personally think they too newsy to really kick me to the curb. They want to know what I'm doing. If they kick me to the curb, then they can't watch the show. That's what I personally think. But the bottom line is that they're still around. So I didn't come out the gate apologizing like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gay, and well, if you're okay with that, then well, we can, still be cool. I was just like, deuces. You with me or you not? What's up? And that was it. People that wanted to roll. People who wasn't with me moved on. And to be honest with you, most people kept it moving, because what I've noticed about sexuality is that most people will stay in your life. They'll just talk about you behind your back. Basically is what happens. Because every once in a while, somebody tells me something that somebody said, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But they was just telling me how they support me, right? So, like I said, it's just like, you can't give people the option of accepting your life or not. The only person who has to accept you is you. And once you've accepted you, that's it. People that love you unconditionally are going to keep loving you. And people that don't love you unconditionally are going to try to change you. And some people are going to have to come to terms with their own bigotry before they can deal with you. Because some people that love you unconditionally are bigots. It's just the bottom line. They do love you, but they're bigots. So they've always been against gay people. They've always been against trans people. They've always been against interracial relationships. And then here you come at Thanksgiving dinner with a woman. So they've been a bigot all this time. And then you come home and it's like, oh shoot, my daughter's a lesbian. I've hated gay people for 35 years and my daughter's a lesbian. Now they have to come face to face with their own bigotry. So for some of us, our families do love us, but they're going to have to deal with their own bigotry to be able to deal with us. And that's their problem, not yours. You don't apologize or try to make allowances for their issues. That's their issues. I don't take on other people's issues as my own, and especially in a case like this. Because what'll happen is you'll find yourself always bending over backwards trying to appease them. A woman was telling me once, a lesbian she was getting married and she was planning her wedding, and she said that she was going to have a minister give the ceremony. And I was like, why would you have a minister give the ceremony when you aren't a Christian? You're a pagan. That doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you have a priest or priestess do the ceremony from your tradition? And she said, because my family's coming and they won't understand. So you are planning your wedding to a woman, mind you, and you're planning it around your family's spiritual expectations. You're already out of their spiritual expectations already. So she's trying to still appease them and still hold on to their love. I would have got a priestess to do my ceremony, and anybody that doesn't want to come, oh well, you're going to miss a good time. So you got to really think about that aspect of it. And like I said, you have to be okay with losing people. I was okay. If people chose not to be in my life, that was one of the things I had to come to terms with before I came out the closet, because I was very concerned about that. But then I said to myself, anybody who is real, there's a saying that I heard, and it says, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter won't mind. And I kept telling myself, this is something that is for me. I can't live this life for another person. So I don't suggest you try to make your family understand or make them go along with you or anything like that. I suggest you do you. You live your life, you love who you love, you do what you do, and people who accept you and love you, those are the people you be around. People who acting shady, leave them alone. If your auntie is acting shady when you come over, stop going over. That's her bigotry that she has to deal with. She has known you your whole life. Now all of a sudden she hates you because she knows something about your sexuality that she didn't know. Well, that's her problem, not yours. And for some of us, it gets deep, because I've had kids. I used to do a support group for gay teens, and I had kids. Well, they were teens. They were kids to me. They were babies to me, but they were already very aware of themselves and who they were. And they told me on more than one occasion they got kicked out. I remember one girl, we had to find some place for her to stay because her father found out she was in a relationship with a girl and threw her out the house. I've seen some really bad stuff like that a number of times that I had to deal with. And honestly, it does get bad sometimes. But when I got ready to come out, I knew about these experiences. I had read, books and all kinds of stuff on, lesbianism and the gay community and all that. I had read all kinds of stuff on that. And I did a paper on it for my master's, my master's degree. So I had done a lot of research and I knew what could happen. And I was just like, if they shun me for my sexuality, then I will just continue to move on and I'll make a new support system. And honestly, I never really leaned on my family much anyway. My mother, even though we had a lot of ups and downs, my mother has always been very helpful to me. But as far as like my, her sisters and brothers, I never really leaned on them. I didn't have a strong relationship with them in the first place. So I have a favorite aunt. I got some favorite cousins, certain people I had relationships with, but it wasn't like I was in this close family, Once my grandmother died, we all kind of scattered, and it's a lot of us. So one of the things I had to learn, I had to teach myself, is how to create my own support system. My friends became my family. And those are the people who supported me throughout every transition that I've been through. Even when I came here, when I decided to leave, it was my friends who really knew. My family didn't even know about it at first. My friends knew, and my friends supported me. My friends helped me. My friends gave me ideas. My friends are the ones that really stepped up. So my support system really has been my friendships. So for somebody whose family is their support system, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but it's still the same premise. If they really love you, they'll be there for you. And if their bigotry is bigger than their love, then I really question, how real is that love? I wouldn't let that stress me out, and I wouldn't let that change who I am. I would roll out with who cares about me and leave it at that. Okay? All right, now we're going to read my favorite comments. The first one came from Jazzy Jazz. Jazzy Jazz said, "Don't give away all our secrets, miss. Aquarius always tell me stop giving up the secrets." And I explain Aquarius because people don't understand, you know? And I feel like it's helping us and it's helping the person that's dealing with us, you know? Some people still don't get it though. Some people still don't get it and still make the same mistakes. The last one is from the Astrology Kid. Laugh out loud. Got game like an Aquarius. Switch moves after he's been with you. Beyonce. This is a quote from a song by Beyonce. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a song about the zodiac. And somebody told me about it before, and they told me that she talked about the signs in this song. And that was the line she said about Aquarius, that we got game, like I said yesterday. In yesterday's video, I talked about how the Aquarius had got game. And Beyonce also agrees with that. She thinks we got game too. So, Astrology Kid, I thought that was so funny this morning when I saw it. But yeah, Beyonce did say that. She said exactly the same thing I did. And I do think that a lot of Aquarius have game. And I think that some of us use it positively. And I think some of us use it to manipulate. And I think some of us just don't have it or aren't aware of it. You know, it just depends, you know, on your energy and the kind of person in your chart, you know. Because I think some of us are more charismatic than others. But like I said yesterday, the smartest thing to do is to just ask honestly for what you want instead of trying to manipulate. And when it's a negative vibration, that's when it's manipulation. When it's a positive vibration, it's used for good. It's used to persuade people to do good things. So if you're persuading yourself and others, and like a motivational speaker, for example, a motivational speaker got game. They got game because they're able to use their silver tongue, their gift of gab, to motivate and, you know, encourage you, you know, and set you off to do the best. If it's like that, then it's great, you know. But when it's manipulative, that's when it's low vibration. So the idea is, Aquarius, use your ability, but use it in the highest vibration possible. And like I said, if you want something from someone, just ask. 9 times out of 10, they'll give it to you. And if they don't give it to you, ask someone else. Eventually, somebody will give it to you. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you would like to get a reading done, please email me and I'll hook you up with an appointment. Come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.